This week on the Squatchers Lounge podcast, David and the Reverend Jeff take it to David's home state of Washington for Bigfoot across the USA. Tonight, the Bigfoot Paranormal Triangle. What the hell? We finally do a show on Washington and you have to do paranormal? What is this? Oh, it was a reference to the Bigfoot Evidence Weekly? Of course I watched the show. I've been really busy. Asshole. The Reverend Jeff Kelly.
That's right. The only place I can get called an asshole by my favorite person and still laugh it off. I am the host, one of the hosts of this mess, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and over there is returned as promised, the Dr. David Batdorf, Esquire, Mr. Accredited Pseudoscientist. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. I have been busy. I got married last weekend, so I had to take a couple weekends off.
No, yeah. Absolutely not. I saw the picture of you and your beautiful wife and your kid, and it's just like, oh my God, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have joined the holy matrimony. I don't understand why the hell we need a contract with the state to tell people we love them, but apparently we do.
Hey, so honestly, I'm not really going to be comfortable no longer living in sin.
It's a tough thing to get used to. It really is. I agree with you. When you live in sin, you always have that idea that there's one foot out the door. like you really don't have to stay. But, now that you're married, it's just like, oh, shit, I kind of got.
Oh, it's just like, oh, man, this isn't even any fun anymore.
Oh, don't worry. It's a whole lot more fun.
It's the beginning.
That's right. It is. You'll be able to get to take your kids squatching this year. That's going to be super duper fun.
Indeed.
Hey, and usually at this time of the show, we bring out the news, and that's exactly what we're going to do. What you can see there is our chat on the YouTube channel, and you can come check us out and see what's going on. All right, so here we are, Angel's Dust Seasoning on Facebook. That's right. Angel's Dust Seasoning is one of our sponsors. They're fantastic. This stuff's really good. Put it on watermelon, man. That stuff even tastes fantastic. Had it on some pork the other night. It was good. David, we got to get you some samples of that. I'll work on that this week.
Indubitably. Well, maybe they have reasonably changed their name to Angel's Nectar.
Well, that's one of the things that they have is Angel's Nectar.
Oh.
They've got the Angel's Dust. They've got the Devil's Nectar, which is like super hot, skanky. Just like, oh, man. Woo. I'm not a super hot guy, but I know you are. So check it out. They're like $7 a shaker and some tax with a little bit of shipping, and they're just really good stuff to have. The foundation behind it is really good as well. You can go to Angel's Dust Seasoning on Facebook and read all about it. Hey, speaking of really cool things to get online and read about, theindependent.co.uk says London is to get its first coffee and fellatio cafe. That's right, Bubba. Woo,
immediately becomes the most popular place in London.
That's right. Past couple of years have seen smoothie bars with live owls and a naked restaurant. But London's next novelty opening is set in its most surreal, controversial, anger-inducing, and indubitably popular yet, a cafe where customers can get a blowjob with their latte. That's just, I got to stop. I'm in. I don't have to read anymore. It's like, where do I sign up for a ticket? The Baroque-themed 150 M squared cafe. What the stupid
150-meter
squared cafe? I don't understand. Serve coffee and a few pastries, with customers being given an iPad on which to choose an escort from a list of the thumbnails to perform oral sex on them. £50 will be the base charge. That's right. So that's about $75 US. Billed as the most expensive coffee in the UK, with £10 added for every extra 15 minutes. So I guess they like, you got to finish up in 8 minutes, pal, or you're paying extra.
So I mean, the real deal is, I mean, like, really, how much is a scone, and what do you get for that?
The legality of it is somewhat a gray area, with prostitution itself being legal in Great Britain, but the running of a brothel a crime. I wonder how that works out. However, it says everything related to the Fellatio Cafe is legal, and his lawyer is currently setting everything up. That's right, people. We've got the lawyers on this one. Wow, what can I say about that? Yeah, I'll have a cafe latte and a redhead.
Yeah.
I start my Mondays with a redhead. What time do you guys open? I'm not saying I don't love the idea because I love the idea, but really, London?
Well,
Wow.
I'm just like, really, before coffee?
Well, no, it says you get your coffee and then you get an iPad to choose. So
okay. So I can at least like pound a couple like straight, like a quad espresso, and then be like, okay, now I'm ready.
Do I get to poop first? Because after I finish my coffee,
that's kind of awkward. I mean,
now,
what was that?
I'm sure there's a fetish.
Well, I only farted in front of her once, and she dumped me.
I mean, she was
going down on me at the time.
Wait, this isn't BEW. We're kind of going down the wrong path here. But yeah, you can check it out at the independent.co. Dude, we should do a whole show on this. Oh my God, we could go on forever.
What?
IFL Science, whale of a problem. Why do humpback whales protect other species from attack? Because they're protecting their food. Apparently, a group of killer whales are on the hunt. They work together to submerge and drown a whale calf, but then more whales appear. The newly arrived humpbacks bellow a trumpet-like call and wield their 5-meter-long pectoral flippers like swords against the prowling killer whales. What is this, Jericho come to life? I don't know, man.
So what this is that, with all the other, cognitive abilities that that these creatures have, they can also identify an asshole, which is a killer whale. But think about it. Like, they can even
killer whales are the wasp of the water world, huh?
Yeah, and everybody's like, this is altruistic behavior, blah, 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 blah. No, they just are probably protecting their own young or their future young by having the less success by these killer whales. The less whales they eat, the more they're going to eat something else and probably just change their behavior. So really, they're just trying to not have them be successful eating whales or anything. They just want to starve the killer whales to death so they can save their own children. How about that?
Yay! Well, you check this one out at IFL Science as well. That's neat. I just see them. I don't see that battle. That would have been.
That's a pretty Leviathan.
Sea serpents.
Speaking of which,
fishermen in North Carolina. That's right. Bryson City, North Carolina. A man says he had an encounter with a creature that looked a lot like a sea serpent. David Brown's 42, the Cryptozoology News. He was on a boat at the lake in Swine County. That's right. You heard that right. Swine County, when he came upon the unidentified animal one afternoon last month. I had just finished my work and decided to go fishing on the lake for the rest of the day. I got my small boat and went out on the lake, he said. He added that he was reeling a large fish. Of course, they always are. He caught with his fishing pole. Another animal ate the catch. I've had that happen to me. It's very unfortunate. Florida gators love to do that shit. An unknown animal grabbed my fish and pulled my rod right from my hands. The culprit, he said, looked like the classic 3-hump sea serpent. Browns provided the specific location, but was omitted in the report due to the potential habitat conservation. Sea serpents have been reported throughout history, although it's believed that these animals could be misidentified marine creatures such as oarfish, lungfish, sharks, or even whales, not a pond. Some cryptozoologists suggest that they can be some sort of Mesozoic reptile, such as the plesiosaur.
The plesiosaur was not a reptile.
No, it sure wasn't, but it was a lizard.
Mm-hmm. It was a big thing.
It was a big thing. There are stories of this kind of thing all over the East Coast. You can never get away from the sea serpent type or the lake monster type, whatever. Very well could have been a big alligator gar or just a big garfish, period. Those things can really be nasty. But, if it ate the big fish off of its hook, who knows what it is? I'm here in California. We've got sturgeon. Those things can be 30, 40 feet long. We've seen them jump. They are mud suckers, so they suck a bunch of food off the bottom of the river here, and then they get all caught up in their gills, and they come flying up to the top of the water like a breaching shark or a breaching whale and slap themselves back down on the water to shake all that mud and crap out of their gills.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this. I had never seen this happen. We're sitting there fishing for stripers, and all of a sudden, I hear what sounds like a damn dolphin. Oh, what the hell is that? He's like, a big sturgeon.
Yeah, just a 500-pound sturgeon. No big deal.
No biggie. Let's just go over there and try and catch it now. It's like, that was kind of the idea. But, so you never get away from these things. You never know what's out there. But bring your camera, damn it. We want to see pictures. If it had 3 humps and you knew it, you should have been able to take a picture of it.
Yeah, seriously. But then it disappeared completely, and nobody will tell us where it is. So there.
That's right, because the conservation.
Habitat conservation.
TheWhiteWolfPack.com. That's right. Take the source for what it is. New evidence puts man in North America 50,000 years ago. That's right. Radiocarbon testing of carbonized plant range. Carbonized would suggest that they were burnt. Where artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by the University of South Carolina. Love them people. Archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear, dude, who won the lottery? Dr. Albert Goodyear indicated that the sediments containing these artifacts are at least 50,000 years old, meaning the humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age.
You mean David, the ice age that we're still in?
Right. Technically, we're still retreating from that, but I'm sure humans came and went. Now that we're realizing that Columbus didn't discover shit. There was 100 million Native Americans already on this continent before the colonialization of the East Coast even began. So now that we can admit all of that type of thing, people came and went from the Americas as it became viable sources for food and wasn't viable sources for food. Well, I mean, apparently it was our thing. We marched up and down the whole Americas from South America to North America as many times as it took until the ice just went away.
So what basically like what we're led to sort of believe in like my, the grade school teachings of 20 or 30 years ago, like even in my grade school teachings, it seemed as though approximately 10,000 years ago, single file following the mammoth, which then went extinct because we ate them, that the Native Americans just populated North America, and then it doesn't even account for the fact that they were already in South America at the same time that they came over. And yes, it's cool to find artifacts backing that up, but think about it now. You could reasonably row a boat. It would be dangerous and stupid, but you could row a boat from Alaska to Siberia. You could do that. I could see it from my house.
Kon-Tiki went from South America to Polynesia.
Serious. Maybe it wasn't quite as turbulent, and if you fell in the water for more than 90 seconds, you didn't die. But the whole idea is that you could have gone over this ice shelf, and the ice shelf has mostly retreated at this time, but there's still, we're 10,000 years away from the glacial maximum, but we still have ice up there. It's
more ice than ever actually right now.
Yeah, it's there's that whole anthropogenic global warming. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about the fact that there's probably easily 10,000 years on one side and then 30,000 years on another. So 40,000 years is like a given, right? So right. How about let's give ourselves a little leeway and say, yeah, there were probably some folks. We found remains in Mexico that were related to some of the first settlers that came over the Bering Land Bridge 12,000 years ago. Yeah, 2,000 years, you can definitely make it from here to there. But that's just, we found some remains that we could date properly.
Exactly, which makes it kind of neat.
Yeah, so those are cool things. It totally believable, totally reasonable, and yeah, the Beringia was probably there for a long time.
Alrighty, coming up next, that's right. All the buzz this week has been crappy. Law enforcement officer says that they got Bigfoot legs on video. That's right, on a surveillance video. So apparently they were investigating something in the woods, and this camera was, laying on the ground. I'm not real sure what the details on this were because I don't listen to the show that's talking about all this. But this is what we get. We get some moving brown hair that seems to be bear-like, and then we get a bear-like paw, and then we get a bear-like knee, and then we get a looped bear-like hair, bear-like foot, and bear-like knee. So I'm not really sure whether this Bigfoot's like 1.5 feet tall, or
it's just got really short legs.
It just got really short legs.
Yeah, okay, so when that foot comes forward and pop, bear paw. Let's just be reasonable for a second. And how close the joints are together. This is not a long-legged biped, if you will.
This is not a primate of any sort whatsoever.
Yeah.
But hey, if those guys want to go on, and apparently I just saw there was a message left on, a comment left on one of our shows, the Men in Black show, are coming to get the Garretts. Well, apparently the Men in Black are after this guy now. They've gotten onto his YouTube channel and messed with his videos. I don't know anything about it. That was just a comment that was left, but apparently that's the route these guys are going down. So conspiracy theory, if you like. I'm still here. 4 years of talking about all the in-depth stuff of Bigfoot, from cover-ups to sheriffs having plans to take these things out of the works to we're going to talk about the Mount St. Helens thing tonight. And damn it, I'm still here. So I don't know. I don't know what that says about the guys that are trying to cover up Bigfoot, but we ain't going nowhere. And most other people aren't either. Hey, something in the woods, Bigfoot creature test. That's right. If you just search for Bigfoot creature suit test, you'll get a glimpse of the feature film, Something in the Woods. Which
There's something in the woods.
There's not something on the hill, it's in the woods.
Wait, is this a Snowgrove reenactment?
But this is really, really slick looking costume. I had a hard time finding the elbows. And that's important in a Bigfoot costume, because if the elbows stick out, then you can tell it's a man in the suit. And they really do a good job of hiding the elbows. It's very Chewbacca-like, but I dig it. I dig it a lot. I can't wait to see the movie. And I may actually have my hands on a copy of it very soon. So yay me!
Yay!
That's right. But if you search for Bigfoot creature suit test, you can do it. I also saw, speaking of things that are wrapped, Caller Wilmus and the Boss of the Woods did their filming, and it looks like it's going to be super cool as well. We can't wait to see that one, Collier, when you get some test footage and you're ready for somebody to examine it. Your old pal Reverend Jeff here and your old pal Wes and David will be glad to take a look at it.
Indubitably.
Okay, here it is, folks. The EINnews.com, consider the source, calling all established production houses, that's right, Bigfoot Production Investments Incorporated, Tom Biscardi, Inc., BPII is looking for a production company that can assist with reality TV hunt show. TV hunt show?
TV hunt.
Yeah, apparently Redwood City, California, United States, in an effort to begin production of a new reality-based TV show.
Never been done before.
Never been done before now. Bigfoot Project Investments Inc., BPII, is looking for proposals to establish production company with an affiliated network that is looking for new projects that provide excitement, adventure, danger, and have already grabbed the public interest. This release is our formal request for proposal. That's right. Apparently, they're going to go out and do expeditions consisting of traveling across the U.S. investigating. Now, we've heard of a show that does that before.
No, never been done before.
Interviewing, surveying, sighting locations, and following up on current and past sightings of the creature known as Bigfoot.
Never been done before.
11 seasons, I think we're already into it, but the production crew would be joining the team so they would go into the wilderness to explore the locations where the creature has been sighted. No reenactments, no real action. Oh, wait, no real action in real time, showing the world as the trials and tribulations that the crew go through in the search for the truth. 11 seasons, right? I mean, has this guy never seen Finding Bigfoot?
You just have to kind of push that out of your mind and
never been done
the
before,
Discovery Channel or whatnot.
I said so.
Calling all established production houses that aren't Discovery, who already carries that. Well, if anybody's out there, you can contact that guy.
Of course, we end up talking over it anyhow. I tried to give it Joe and give me a Snapple, but our cart was too damn slow tonight. So to follow this up, how do you go from 50 large to $221? How do you?
Oh, wait! Coffee shops in London.
That's right.
Go.
How do you get a small company? Give Tom Biscardi a big one and wait. Apparently, There's a scathing article on people.com that we covered last week where the big BFII people were saying that they were worth like $50 billion. And of course, they went through it and everything else. Well, Steve Cole's the Squatch Detectives blog. He turned his private eyeball at the old at the jackasses, and apparently
I hate you, public records.
Yeah, investors gave them like $80,000 last year, but as of this year, they're worth like $221. Or no, $221 is what they were worth last year. Now they're worth $26K, but the $26K is after they were up at $81K. So basically, they're down $50,000 for the year, but nobody knows why. But hey, it's going to be something brand new and never seen before. That's right. Bigfoot Biscardi investigators. Apparently, Carmine is going to retire. This is his farewell tour that they're on now, and they're going to hand it over to Tom Jr. And Biscardi will be the CEO of the company, but Tom Jr. will be doing all the investigating. Check it out, squatchdetective.wordpress.com. You can see the whole thing, but it's funny, people. This guy has been hoaxing since Ivan Marks in the 70s. The 70s.
What? But and still nobody's really caught on.
I just okay. Anyhow,
Yeah.
More Bigfoot stuff here. Bigfoot believers gathered at inaugural UP, not OP, UP Bigfoot conference. That's right. Newberry, Michigan, don't you know? The Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization of the Upper Peninsula and the UP Spook Team gathered Saturday at the Falls Event Center to host their inaugural Bigfoot convention. Wouldn't a convention be more than one day? Anyhow. Researchers and investigators came to speak on many different related topics, such as science of Bigfoot in the forest, audio recordings of howls, and intimidation tactics. What are the government after them? I still don't understand. There were also casts of footprints from the mysterious creature on display. Books were available for purchase, both on Bigfoot and paranormal sightings. Basically, what this was an educational day for people to come out, and if you're a believer or a knower, or if you're a complete skeptic, or a complete non-believer, is to come and listen to like-minded people and say, okay, these are the things I'm seeing, I'm hearing, and I'd like to share them with other people. Well, that's a good thing to do. The more you do of that, the more like-minded people you'll find. The more people you'll convince that you're crazy. But you'll still find more people that are like-minded like you, and who knows, you might be able to correlate sightings, sighting locations, places other people have seen them that you have seen them, or found evidence of them. Maybe somebody has seen fresh tracks. Fresh tracks are everything, people. If you don't have fresh tracks, you don't have shit. That's just my opinion of it. Dave, what do you think, man?
Fresh tracks, mean that something has been there recently, but then you can follow the tracks and lose them eventually. Really, what you need is a good area and to do long-term surveillance. And people can't do. Yes, it's fun to go camping. We all love to go out into the woods and do that. But the long-term surveillance needs to be done with the technology that's available. I love the Olympic Project for what they're doing, but really, yes, take your sightings, make your correlations, and go test your working hypotheses.
Working hypothesis. That's, the other thing. It's not a theory, people. It is a working hypothesis. All right. Hey, you know what time it is? It is time for a little bit of Dean Cooper and some Quazy theories. That's right. We've had this one in the can for a little bit, but it'll be good for you. And now, Quazy theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Divining divination. This Quazy was originally going to be on applied phrenology, an invention of mine that used the old method of determining personality traits by feeling the bumps and dips on the outside of the cranium. After feeling up a client's noggin, the phrenologist would then consult a chart of a generalized skull with the areas of various personality traits drawn on the skull to do a character analysis of the client. A bump here meant one thing, a divot there another. This lump says you have criminal tendencies. That flat spot says you love children, maybe a little too much. Applied phrenology would use a mallet, ball peen hammer, and maybe a flat iron to correct evil tendencies and enhance good qualities by enlarging or flattening the appropriate place on the skull. I decided not to do a Quazy on that. Please feel free to use my invention however you see fit. No, when I started looking up phrenology, I got other references to other forms of divination and got distracted. I blame Google. Just on Wikipedia, I found a list with over 100 kinds, and that was just under the one starting with A, B, and C. Let's list a few, in no particular order. We all know about horrification. I mean, who hasn't tried to figure out what's going to happen next by examining the guts of some animal you have sacrificed for that purpose, especially sheep and poultry? I did that both in high school and college, looking for how to pass the biology class. The liver was the favorite organ for many, and that aspect of horrification is called hepatoscopy, which means looking at a liver. Batrachomancy is divination by watching frogs. Armomancy is divination by having one's shoulders examined. Labiomancy uses the lips on the mouth. Get your minds out of the gutter. Then there's the always popular necromancy. How about abacomancy, reading dust? Gematria is one of my favorites. The modern form is numerology. Gematria assigns a numeric value to each letter of a given alphabet. You then add, subtract, divide, multiply, hell, maybe take the square root of the numbers you come up with when you translate the letters of your name or whatever into the numeric equivalent. I'm just going to list some more with no explanation. Getomancy, katabomancy, platonomancy, drumomancy, micromancy, molybdomancy, scatheromancy. This is driving my spell corrector nuts. I'll end with a completely idiotic one, a modern one, only possible since the invention of digital playlists, shufflemancy. Yes, there are those among us who believe you can predict the future based on putting your favorite playlist on shuffle and examining what the shuffle comes up with. I am sure that a good horrification would be more accurate, if you got the guts to do it. This has been Dean Cooper, quasi-scientist, enlightening you with my quasi theory of the week. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
God bless you, Dean. And your quasi theories, my man. That's just
hey, you know that shuffle thing is true. Like when Marvin Gaye comes on, you know what's gonna happen.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. All right, now
get it on.
A little bit of camping tips for stupids.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 18. Paracord, not to be mistaken for pterodactyls, is a very versatile camping and survival instrument. But we're not talking about paracord. We're talking about pterodactyls. No, wait, hold on. Okay. Yeah, okay, we're talking about paracord. Pterodactyls don't exist. Yet. Now, paracord, or originally called parachute cord or 550 cord, is a lightweight nylon mantle rope originally used in the suspension lines of parachutes. Wow, I didn't screw that up. That was my first take. Awesome. Oh, damn it. Now in modern days, paracord has almost countless uses around the campsite or in survival situations. Like making handles to throw attack dogs at terrorists. Like stringing cord across an ant hill to drop a steaming deuce on them. Or combining your powers to summon the ultimate planet guardian, Captain Planet, lower cost Spanish counterfeit variant, Capitan Planeta. Yes, paracord has many uses, and I'm sure you'll go out there and find some for yourself. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids, and remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Oh, that's right. Camping Tips for Stupids. You can find that at the Life and Times of JCM. That's right.
But seriously, who has time to make a fishing net out of paracord? I mean, for love.
They did it on a loan this year because they were there for a long ass time. Hey, let's see who's hanging out in the live Squatchers Lounge chat room tonight. Of course, it doesn't go all the way to the top, but whatever. Starshine, how you doing? She's always in there in the house. One of our favorite fans. Collier Wilms. I always want to screw that up. Is it like Fez? He's got a weird name like that too. Don't forget Sasquatch, Boss of the Woods. That sucker is going to be looking to come out. Simon, they got it in the can. He's got to edit it. Got a bunch of shit to it. Rod Debris is a place to be. Kid! Oh, sorry, I got a little something in my throat there again. Hi, my name's Forrest Krabs. People call me Forrest Crab. How you doing, buddy? Glad you could join us tonight. Dean Cooper, he's a moderator. Don't mess with him or he'll put you in timeout. Let's see here who else is floating around out there tonight. You guys talk forever before the show, which is awesome possum. Mr. Sam Rivera and Mr. Dave Stumpf. That's right. Glad you guys could join us as well. Let's see here who else floated in after that. There is one. Albina Brell. How you doing, darling? Glad you could meet with us as well. Dave Jackson. He's out there as well. Let's see. Okie dokie. The Life and Times of JCM. That's right. Jevin Moore, our Jesus Christ of Monterey Bay. Somebody asked what it took to become a quasi-theorist, and I told him, I said, well, it just takes time around the SLP. We give out all kind of honorary degrees, you know. Dr. David Batdorf has not only got an honorary PhD, but also an honorary law degree, so we've made him Esquire. Heck, we'll even make you an honorary Messiah, you know, Jebin Moore, our Jesus Christ of Monterey Bay. It just takes time of hanging out with us, and eventually you too will get your honorary degree.
We'll get the letters after your name.
That's right. If I didn't say hi to Sam Rivera, I just did. Let's see here. Kelly Irvin, glad you could join us as well. Not sure this is your first time. Woohoo! Could get kind of interesting. Duo Do Erden. Is that like a doo-wop song? I'm not real sure. But glad you could join us as well. They must have joined us right during the blowjob and coffee talk. Yeah, that would have been a real interesting time to dump in on us. Sorry about that, but it does happen. Let's see here. Who else? Lungfish or freshwater? Yeah, but not in an inland lock lake like that. It's really weird. Lungfish are usually in really, really deep water. I'm not going to argue with our quasi-theorist. He's the smartest guy besides the... Okay, Kurt Harris. I found a new name. I didn't have to wander on anymore. Glad you could join us as well. Let's see here. Brenda Joy. So glad you could join. Yeah, it's probably a bear. Most likely a bear. It's definitely not a Sam Squanch. Anything from Sasquatch Chronicles, you kind of got to take like the Bigfoot Inquirer. Like, you know, the Star Magazine. If it comes from them, you might want to check a couple of other sources. I'm just saying they were known to have faked the Bigfoot encounter to get into Bigfoot in the first place. Hey, that's just what I heard. I saw it on the internet somewhere. We might have done a show or two about it.
I heard that on the internet. It might have been in my own voice, but
exactly. I may have been the one that said it, but I did hear it on the internet because I do listen to our show.
That makes it true.
That's right. Cy Tyson. Well, he says, welcome back, Father Batdorf. So he's been around for a while. Glad you could join us as well. Let's see here. We're getting down there. We're getting down to the bottom of it. If you haven't said hi to us yet, you might get left out because shit happens. Let's see here. Fred Hepburn. I guess you're related to Catherine. I don't know. She was with that aviation guy. Real weird man. I can't remember what the heck was his name. He made that gigantic freaking plane that actually flew. Yeti's uncle. Greetings back to you. Blood Trail Production says hello as well. Back at you. And I believe that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out live and watching us in the Squatchers Lounge chat room. Continue to chat along because it's about to get even more interesting. Father Batdorf, Dr. Batdorf, sorry. You know, you've lived in Washington like your whole life.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Sam Squanch has been part of your life like your whole life because, like, Bigfoot's real, right? In Washington, isn't that the deal? Like,
well, it's not necessarily the going consensus is that it's real.
Okay, so we're not at an institutional level that they don't think it's real, but yet there's still a lot of things with Bigfoot in Washington.
Oh my goodness, like it's everywhere. It's ingrained in everything we do from like the Bigfoot Java to the kokanee beer signs have a Sasquatch footprint with 6 toes, which really pisses me off.
Really, for 6 toes? Why would it have 6 toes?
I just to show that it's not human. I don't know, something. You can't.
Well, that could do it. I mean, it would definitely say that it wasn't human if it had 6 toes. Now, if everybody remember, not too long back, in July of 2015, a former state trooper from Washington said that he is currently in contact with several Bigfoot creatures and that he feeds them food regularly. The man, who provided a full name but chose to remain anonymous, told Cryptozoology News that the encounters have been happening since 2009 in a remote area in the North Cascades.
I love the North Cascades.
Sometimes it's just 5 to 10 minutes. Other times they stay for hours. He said, I leave them the food and they visit. Wow. From apples to carrots to beef jerky. Damn jackalings. Cookies and candy bars. Don't do that to things in the woods. It's bad for them. And ex-law enforcement officers claim the creature eat it and then leave him alone.
At some point, he's just going to have to take him insulin, too. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Don't give the wildlife cookies.
I mean, I got a guinea pig here in the house that's so fat he needs injections almost. I mean, poor thing just, oh my goodness. Apparently, the story goes on to say this. The man says he was looking for an old mine in the mountains, and the first time he came across the alleged beings in 2009, after leaving the food out there for them, he says they have started following him and getting closer. I've been as close as 20 feet to some of them. He reports he was so close that he was able to catch some of their language in 2 different occasions. They sounded similar to Native Americans and Asian mixes. And I've heard that description before.
The samurai chatter. Klingon.
Yeah, exactly. Or South African. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. I really don't. They have a human-like face with some dark hair. Others, red or brown, probably about 3 to 4 inches long. The females had small breasts. The man also a former Army Special Forces soldier, because of course they all are. And he says he says he is not the only one to have seen the creatures in the area. Numerous people have also purportedly seen them while accompanied.
Numerous purported people.
Yeah.
Also anonymous.
It's being protected by top men. By who? Top
men.
I
hate those guys.
Show us a little bit about Washington State and why there might be some Sasquatches there.
North Cascades.
I
mean, technically, really, the North Cascades go on up here, but there's this river that divides. The Fraser River comes out through here and divides the North Cascades, which comes down through here from. Basically, you end up in a low area, and then you're into California and the Sierras. So, but the Cascades, let's see if I can get the whole Cascade range. Just go into California a little bit. Whatever. Basically, this is a tectonic upwelling, right? This is where this plate is ramming into this plate, and it's made this big push up here.
Right.
And there's a separate fault line where the Sierras, I mean, it's the same green belt, but there's a separate plate, and you can see the striations here and all that. So technically, they're just talking about this high area from where this thing is smashing into this thing. When I think of the North Cascades, I'm thinking of the northern half of Washington because there's very different biomes here, and I have a ton of maps, and I'm not going to pull them all out because this is turning into a 2-hour thing. And as I'm learning about because I'm really hyper local when the Bigfoot thing comes into play. I don't it's not that I don't care that Bigfoot happens in Michigan or in Ohio, or it just doesn't apply to what I'm trying to do, if you know what I'm saying, right? So this area from the border, and I recently just got my hand study so I could actually go above the border, which needs to happen because this is where John Green and all of these Harrison Hot Springs and the Hot Springs legends come from, is just right over the border here. Same structure, Fraser River. Actually, is on this side of the Fraser River, Hope, and somewhere up there's Harrison. Anyway, up in this same area, and this is this silver fir, like, this is what I would consider to be the perfect area. You know, the seaboarding perfect area is this similar to what we see on the Olympic Peninsula on the west side. But once you hit the ridgeline and start to head down the other side, it goes from fir to pine. And then it looks very much like you would expect to see in Idaho and Montana and those other areas versus this lush rainforest and all of these. I mean, it's just river after river after river after river areas up in this northern area. But what we're talking about always is, well, where do the nutrients come from? They come from these mountains, these ranges of mountains. And so it's funny that actually it's not actually mentioned here because it's not tall anymore because the top blew off of it. So we're talking about this triangle, this Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, and then way up here in the Olympic range, there's a few tall points, but there's, you know, Mount Tom is the tallest, but there's the Mount Olympus and all those other things.
Right. That's the Bigfoot triangle. Basically, between those 3 points, pull the BFRO inlay up and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just, there are so many. Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
it just gets to a point that you would think driving along any of those major roads at night, you would have a chance of seeing a Sasquatch, even just outside of Seattle.
Which is almost the case. And I have a little bit of stuff to talk about there, but you know, I always posit, just not because where I come from, but Mount Baker as part of this is a really interesting area and does hold more. You're not gonna, these areas aren't going to hold grizzly bears, or they're not going to hold the wolverine. They're not going to hold, potentially some like small groups of wolf. But they're not going to have the density and population of all of those things that you see coming from Canada and down in this area. And the rich history in the area is every bit as rich as down here. It's just not as cool as Mount St. Helens because there's no government cover up. Sorry. Not sorry. But it's more a thing. And there's a ton of stories from up where I'm. Okay, so these blue lines here are something that I drew on here, the river valleys that I'm really interested in, because that's what we're talking about. Like the mountains catch the snow, and the snow drains down and pulls nutrients with it. And with that is where all the diversity comes. I mean, if you zoom in on Mount Rainier, and there's just river upon river upon river upon river pulling this nutrient-rich water down that grows the vegetation that feeds the things that the predators like to eat, and so on goes the circle of life. These volcanoes, and so Mount St. Helens blew its top. Mount Rainier is also a volcano. Mount Adams is a volcano. Mount Baker is a volcano, and I'm pretty sure that at least Mount Tom is and Olympus are volcanic as well. So really super rich. I mean, these are awesome areas.
Now, you remember Mount St. Helens, there was the big famous story about the National Guardsman who claims Bigfoot bodies at the Mount St. Helens mountain fire after the mountain actually blew its top after the volcano said, "Yeah, I don't feel like holding this magma, this liquid hot magma.
And liquid hot magma.
Do the sharks have lasers on their head?"
So we're gonna go through really quick. I have some things here. I didn't have too much to Google Earth plan, but I did have some things here. So this is the actual population density of Washington, where you're saying like, yeah, you could see Sasquatch right outside of Seattle, right outside of the major metropolitan area of Seattle are areas where there are between 1 to 10 persons per square mile. And most of this, if you look at the vegetation maps as it's split down the spine of the Cascades, this is fairly viable on the piney side. A lot of black bear on the side. A lot of hunting goes on over there. This is pretty much desert. A lot of people don't understand, like realize that most of Washington is actually desert or plains. And then everything on this side is where we're inhabiting, butting up to this really huge area where most of which, and I'm going to show this is my whole purpose of showing this, most of which is totally unusable by anything. So it gives you the reason that there is this rich sighting record is because it gives you a very small window in which there's populous areas, there's unusable areas, and then there's expanse into arid plains land, right? So it's really cool that you can actually experience this and by narrow. So the county I live in, Whatcom County, is only about 45 miles north to south, but it's about 160 miles west to east. So these are pretty large expanses, and most of this our peak is right about here, and then it actually, when you see the Cascades, I'll go through this. Okay. Anyway, we have Mount Rainier. Beautiful. Sits right outside the city. There's these,
I never saw it the whole time I was there.
Yeah, well, we get a lot of clouds and rain too. Anyway, so these are going to be beautiful pictures, and we'll all show some of the surrounding landscape. It's gorgeous, but really most of this is totally unusable by Sasquatch, right?
10 feet of snow, no real green, nothing really to eat.
Glaciers and rocks and
rock and snow.
Even these gorgeous mountain meadows with these volcanic arms that come down. Not really a great, this looks nice. It's also a UFO magnet, which is nice. But then you get into the foothills, and let's see if I can find some better pictures here. And you start to see, oh, hey, nice.
Sam Scranch.
Actually, that was the Kirk photo I was talking about.
Yeah,
that guy held a bunch of conferences up in my area before my time. But anyway, you start to see some of the some of the rainforesty areas and some more of this usable land, and there's a bunch of stuff, yada yada yada. Okay, so Mount St. Helens. Awesome pictures. Before, after. It is also pretty much not usable, and it looks kind of good down here, but Mount St. Helens, so really, like we say all the time, this is just a really great illustration of what we're talking about. There's this big volcanic upwelling. It's totally useless, except for the fact that it's feeding the land down below. So let's just continue to look at that. Here we have in the foothills, there's some issues. There's these lava flows. Oh, this isn't a really good house. I was hoping for better images here, but there's still, we've yet to really bounce back from this. It's starting to get more southerly into Washington. It's the trees are becoming more piney, a little less, less like you expect Washington State, less like this, which does exist. But what people usually think of is this like Mount Olympus. This is the Olympic Peninsula. Mount Olympus, these mountains are completely unused. Sasquatch isn't up here. Like, we'll crawl around on these rocks. We'll go across the glacier.
Stupid human tricks.
Stupid human tricks. We'll go over these glacial fields. But what comes out of this are areas like the Hoh River Valley. This, with its dead fish and it's beautiful. This is just beautiful area. You start to actually see wildlife again. We have bears, we have elk, we have actual things living there that people are taking pictures of. Mountain goats. I mean, these are the types of things that I'm expecting to see, and this is in that low valley. Okay, here's the mountain. It comes through here. There, yeah. This is the good stuff. In the area where I'm interested, so here's Mount Baker. This is actually Photoshop. That's BS. Anyway, but the top of this mountain, totally useless. Places that are easily hikeable, not really great. Nice mountain meadows. I've hike. This is one of my favorite hikes up here. This is Skyline Divide. Great places to go see, but probably not that great for Sasquatch until you start to get down into the valley areas. And these are all high pictures. I hate when it doesn't work. But anyway, so here we start to see some bears again. We start to see the actual trees, moisture, nutrients, the things that you would expect to see in an area where
so if you've got yourself
Sasquatch was
so high that you're not in any animals, you're probably way too high for Sasquatch too.
But we always focus on the mountains and these like mountain ranges, and you have to really think about, okay, well, where does this stuff live? Like the stuff isn't living up here on this barren ridge, and it's not living on this high slope with nothing on it. It's living down below where you actually get the foods. It's living in here, right? It's feasting on the plains of skunk cabbage that smell so amazing.
Definitely not on mule's ear, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, that wasn't happening. And you know, there's tons of areas. So one of the areas that I'm most specifically interested in is this wonderful area here, which is just a high mountain lake. It's a stream that was dammed by a slide, and it creates this huge place that I found all sorts of interesting things. It also has a crazy let's see if I can find the picture of that. Yeah, like prehistoric fossils that they've pulled out of the ground of palm fronds and things like up in the conifers, but you know, looking more like your Pacific Northwest-ish kind of an area, which honestly most of the areas don't that you show, like when you're looking at the mountains in particular, it's just not there. And Mount Baker, where are we? That's Mount St. Helens. Mount Baker, it looks huge. It looks great, big from a distance. It's only 10,000 feet above sea level. That's because sea level is right here. And that's only about 70 miles from it. So my idea is that there's a really cool thing that happens in the Puget Sound area and in the North Cascades, where there really is this low foothill line, and then there's population, and it sandwiches all the wildlife right in between there. So it's a great place to look, and it's very, it's still vast, and it's still, I mean, it's crazy to think about, but it's this is why we get more sightings than other areas, is because there's only a small corridor for which all the wildlife to travel through. And that, I guess that's where I'm going with that. It's all the things we've always talked about with the water, with the mountains. You have to have the rain shadow. It has to be outside of the populous area, but not so far out that it's up the side of a cliff and feeding on rocks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there definitely has to be a food source involved with it. I brought up that one about, it was 1999 when this guy actually brought this out. Fred Bradshaw report concerning dead Bigfoot bodies near Mount St. Helens. The father worked for Weyerhaeuser Company at Green Mountain, Washington, eastern Vancouver, and the site has security for the roads to check the equipment and check closed areas to keep people out. The father was working in that day at Mount St. Helens. It blew up, and he was at a meeting in Kelso, Washington, and was a supervisor when Mount St. Helens blew its side out. All heck cut loose. The father was sent back to Green Mountain right away, but like most, he wasn't allowed to go very far because of the mudslide coming down the river. He didn't get to go to the town of Tootle, Washington, on Highway 504 off of I-5. He and his crew were placed at different spots to watch for mud flow and, of course, help people get out of the blast zone after the major blow up. He was sent to the area of Sprite Lake to keep people out. When the second major blow up of the mountain came, the father and the guy with him reported in, and they got out of there. Woohoo! He was then placed in charge of the helicopter landing zone. It was his job to keep to help keep people out of the landing zone and let aid crews in so that they could care for the injured. Later, when all of the people were out and the bodies out, the National Guard was brought in to clean up. They hauled dead animals out as they placed in piles, deer in one, elk in another, and so on. They were covered up with tarps and later burned. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the father was placed in charge of one pile of dead that were covered, and no one was allowed to go near it. Armed U.S. National Guard personnel were around this pile, and one day when they were going to move the group of bodies, his father was very close to it and was told to keep his mouth closed. And when the tarps were removed, he saw the creatures, some badly burned and some not. They placed them in a net and lifted them into a truck and covered it over. My father asked the guardsman, what will they do with them? He said, he'll study them and whatever. He didn't want to know. Everybody's heard that story. Mount St. Helens blew up in the 80s. So this story comes out, 25 years later. Why would they be taking dead animals off the mountain and not just let them decay? Dead human bodies, I can totally understand why you would police up dead human bodies, but dead animal bodies, I don't know that you would police them off of the mountain. You've got your map back up here for a reason, I suppose.
Oh, well, I was just gonna illustrate, and I was thinking about the areas, but and my cat is caught in my headphone cord. Oh my god, so awkward. That was terrible. But looking down into those areas, I mean, you're still talking about semi-populated areas, and what they're, I can only assume that they're talking about the large outflows down here that are still in the Cowlitz and into Longview, and Kelso's a little bit east of that, south of that, wherever it is.
There
anyway, but this is the area that we're talking about being prime area, but again, like, why would you cover up something that nobody thinks exists? Why wouldn't you just leave it
right
on the side, or
right cover it over there?
So we're gonna put it in a sheet and just leave it.
We're gonna put it in a pile and leave them there for a few days, so we don't want anybody around them, though. We're gonna guard them.
Yeah,
we're gonna leave them in plain view for days, just in case people need to really see them.
To tell about it later. And then would they not just burn them immediately? I mean, there's
of course. Now, don't forget about the 1924 I Fought the Ape Man of Mount St. Helens, told by Fred Beck of Kelso, Washington. The whole miners are out, and then the whole story gets switched around. Nobody can really tell. Did they shoot the Sam Squanch before, or did they shoot the Sam Squanch after? Cameron would tell us that they didn't shoot it before. They attacked them that night, and they actually shot at the one on the way out. It's really strange. There's so many different stories that come out of there. In Bigfoot bodies on the mountain, there's other stories that are like the one that we just told, but not exactly. There were all kind of things, from dragons to Bat Child taken off to Bat Kid, taken off of the mountain that day. That's gonna kind of wrap it up for our discussion on the Washington Bigfoot this week. There are lots and lots of videos out there. Oh, wait, I forgot to even play them the things. David and I did the investigation down at the Browns a couple of years back, and we got a couple of unknown animal sounds that were pulled. That's just like the classic Bigfoot whoop. And I personally heard a whoop exactly that, only 50 times louder in my ears, nearly right outside of camp.
I was going to say, technically, it wasn't us. It was Kirk Brandenburg who got those, correct?
Yes, it was on his recorder down there during that. Exactly right. Thank you for giving me credit. I couldn't remember whether it was Kirk's or whether it was one of somebody else's. But
yep.
There's no reason that they wouldn't be there, seeing as how all the little pieces kind of fit together.
Was it? Yeah, those were definitely interesting sounds to go back and hear. the only one that I heard was the longer howl.
This one, I have that one here.
Oh, of course.
We all heard this one. I was sick in the hemisphere.
Everybody was silent for that one.
It was just like, yeah, everything just went quiet. And then everything went quiet before it started, too. That was what was weird. Like, everybody shut up. And then that vocal went off. Because there were still people sitting around the fire when you were still sitting around the fire when that went off.
Yep.
I was evilly poisoned. It was crazy. Anyhow, that'll wrap it up for the Washington Bigfoot this week. We want to thank everybody for watching us. Don't forget to go get you some Angel's Dust seasoning. And we'll be back next week with a Bigfoot from around the world. Cameron had sent me a bunch of them to look at, so we'll pick one, and we'll be back next week with another reason that Sam Squanch can live anywhere. David, thank you so much for being back with us, brother. Appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Yeah, we're going to be back and do it again next week.
Well, why not?
That's right. Oh, man, I don't have anything set up for the end of.
Well, yeah. And so all you West Coasters, all you Washingtonians, British Columbians, Oregonians, just remember that so much like this, the east side of those Cascades, not viable. The highlands, probably not viable. So chase that food from low to high and high to low and just see what happens. And follow the other animals. And yep, some of them are scary, but
if you're looking for Bigfoot, you shouldn't be afraid of a bear.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Bigfoot.
A bear will run away from you. We don't know yet exactly what a Bigfoot would do face to face. You know, we have the stories. They just turn and walk away. But
yeah, we've also got the stories where they rip dogs in half and, do other creepy things. So
the moral of this story, don't be a dog.
Don't be a dog. Thanks, everybody, for watching. May the Squatch be with you. That's right. We'll be back next week with BEW on Monday night. I want to watch Sasquatch, Boss of the Forest. Get it edited, boy. Be real. It always turns into some kind of an asshole thing. I wish the government would come take me away. You think you can make my life any worse than it already is? You go ahead and try it.